Hello, neighbor. That's right. I saw a beautiful day in the neighborhood, and if it's okay with you, I'd like to give you a movie review. I am actually going to start this off with, I'm Tarantino in this. I'm giving you the end first. This movie was the most inspiring movie I've seen all year. So if that's enough for you to stop this review, go see it and stuff, or just that's enough for you to hear and you want to quit watching, I am fine with that because this movie was truly incredible. I'm going to easily give it the 4 out of 5, which I'll dive into some of this later on towards the end of this. But yeah, I'm actually starting with all that because I just want to get that out there because, yeah, this movie is about, what I thought it was about is how Mr. Rogers became Mr. Rogers, more of his story. It is not a biography. It's not by any means. And this movie actually takes place with a very small section of his life. Now, Tom, who right at this time, he wrote for the Esquire magazine. And this is real life. He was, assigned to do a piece on Mr. Rogers. So it ends up happening. He does the interview and all that kind of stuff. There's a little bit of a journey with it. And then all of a sudden, he writes this article for Esquire, and it's called Can You Say Hero? Now, this is all true story. This isn't necessarily a movie. This is all true story. And this whole thing that I just explained, the interview, the article and all that kind of stuff, that's what this movie is about. It's not really about the stuff on beforehand and not necessarily the stuff after. It literally takes place with this small chunk of time in Mr. Rogers' life. Now, even though it's definitely about Mr. Rogers, it's also about the guy doing the interview, which they call him in the movie Lloyd. So Lloyd plays loosely Tom's character. And I say loosely because they do change some things. They make it a little bit of Hollywood. They modified some of the story for movie reasons and stuff, and that's also why they changed the name. And it's not fabrication the way I look at it. What they did is they took these opportunities to give you extra moments with Mr. Rogers on the teachings that he's had, because you look at it, he's had over 30 seasons, over 900 episodes of just interacting and teaching. And the cool thing about it is, even though you find out maybe later on that some of the scenes didn't happen the way it's executed in the movie, you still got to see him in those moments, and the moments that are portrayed to you are so impactful that it doesn't matter if it's real or not, because the genuineness, is that a word? Genuineness? Of Mr. Rogers is so pure and incredible, like that's what mattered. So they could have made a whole fake movie for all I cared. And at the end of the day, when I left the movie, I was like, man, what can I do to make my life be better? It's like, how can I start being better with things? And because it's incredible. The coolest thing is he does stuff that, you're almost like, man, there is no way, how to do that. There's even one moment somebody calls him a saint, and there's a really cool quote. In fact, I don't have it memorized, so if you see this movie and there's a moment when a saint is dropped, there's a quote that follows it. If somebody could remember that quote and write it down in the comments below, I'd really appreciate it. But anyways, because the thing is, that's kind of like who he was. On stage, off stage, it didn't matter. He was the same person. But the cool thing is, he's like, I'm no different. He's just like, one cool quote that he does say, which I will tell you, I'm not going to tell you where in the movie is, but he's like, if it's just what it means to be human. And if it's human, that means it's manageable, or mentionable. I just butchered it. If it's human, it's mentionable. And if it's mentionable, it's manageable. And so that was his philosophy on a lot of things too, where it's just like, anything's worth mentioning because we can manage it all. And that's why he was not afraid to talk about such big topics with children. I mean, he would talk about war, divorce, death, things that you're like, oh, maybe we should just wait till they get a little bit older. He was not afraid to step in and just start talking about it. And it was truly incredible. And a lot of people, you might say, like, okay, Mr. Rogers was great with children, but, you know, is he going to do anything for me necessarily as an adult? The answer is this movie is for you. In fact, let me finish my thought on that. Like, you know, I'm an adult, you know? I mean, especially age-wise, it says I'm an adult. But yeah, I felt like this movie, like that even made Mr. Rogers cooler to me is because, yeah, he had a passion for helping children, but the way he lived his life was enough to be like this just, I don't want to say role model, but like just a great example for adults. And it's truly incredible how this guy lived. And so yes, I think if you're an adult, this movie was made for you. Because is this movie made for kids? That's where it's a little bit questionable, actually. It's almost like his TV show is for the children, this movie is for the adults. Now, I don't think it's executed that way on purpose or anything. I just think that's the way it is. For example, it's not an episode of his, so it's not just necessarily, you know, the kid interaction and all that kind of stuff. What it is, like I said, it revolves around Lloyd just as much. So it's, you know, there's just a movie element to it, you know, the struggles they go through and that kind of stuff. So can your kid sit down and watch a drama to some degree? If they can, great. The other big thing is if you don't know who Mr. Rogers is, which a lot of kids nowadays unfortunately don't, will you even understand what's happening? And that's the big thing, because I could honestly see some kids who don't know who he is think this movie's actually boring. And that's a little bit of a sad thing for me. It's a little bit of a downer, but it's reality. This movie is just under 2 hours, so I do think this is a movie everybody should see. I will say, though, maybe with the younger people, I would maybe wait till you see it at home, whether you buy it, stream it, Redbox it, or whatever, just because there could be moments where you need to pause it or explain something and like it really take the time to invest with whoever's watching it. It doesn't even need to be kids. It could be other adults. Stop it and like interact, talk about the things. Like, it's incredible. I do feel like it could be that. I feel like if it's you, though, you have the nostalgia of like, oh, I know Mr. Rogers, I've watched his stuff. I think you definitely need to see this movie. If you see it in theaters, great. What I will say is stick around for the ending. You'll see that it was directed by Marielle Heller. She does an incredible job directing this film. So when you see, you know, directed by, and then you'll start seeing the cast come through, which actually I do want to throw out. So Tom, who wrote the real article for Esquire, he actually made a quote, which I'm going to paraphrase it, because Mr. Rogers passed away in 2003 from stomach cancer. So Tom wrote, he's like, we don't have Mr. Rogers anymore, but Tom Hanks is the next best thing. Because I'm telling you what, Tom Hanks was phenomenal. Like, you know, he matches his mannerisms and everything perfectly. It's well executed, so great job to Tom Hanks for sure. So anyways, with that being said, when you see the cast come through, you know, Tom Hanks and etc., just a little bit after it, you'll start hearing a song of maybe somebody singing, a voice that's very familiar. And then you'll start seeing some visuals, and that's where I'm just going to leave it, because it's not even mid-credit, it's, you know, a first third kind of a credit. So there is something that happens pretty soon in the after credits. It's not super late, so I would stick around for it. I think it's nothing big, game-changing or anything like that. You know, they're not talking about a sequel or anything like that. It's just a cute nostalgic scene that is a little bit thrown in for people, and I think it's worth staying for. Obviously, I think all those names are there to help put that movie together for you to see, so I'd recommend staying anyways, but there's that. We're going a little bit long on this, but I've truly loved this movie. I feel like I'm forgetting some things. This movie was flooded with quotes. Again, I'm going to remind somebody to please, if you see the Saint quote, please write it down for me because I enjoyed it. But I'm actually going to end this real quick by saying, I'm going to, if you like the movie, like it, subscribe, whatever, in the comments. I want to actually end this with the whole, it's something he's done before, and this is a perfect opportunity to do this. And yeah, it's a video. You can still do it. It doesn't matter. I want you to take the next 10 seconds, close your eyes, and think about somebody who loved you into being. So, who helped you come to where you are now? There's probably many people. Even if you just think of one, literally take the next 10 seconds and I'll watch the time. All right, so that is something Mr. Rogers does, and to me, it's actually impactful if you really take that 10 seconds and think about even just one person. And his thing is that person is so pleased to know that you were thinking about them for that 10 seconds. This is a great routine. It's better live in the film. There's video clips on YouTube of seeing him do it in person at the Emmys, for example. And I'm just gonna end this with that. It's an incredible movie. Go see it.